TBC Center presents The Sphere of Influence. The Sphere of Influence is the TV ministry of the baptizing church where everyone is blessed, lifted, edified, strengthened, and encouraged by the word of faith and the power of the Spirit. For further inquiries, please log on to www.tbccenter.org or visit TBC Center, New Road Bus Stop, Lekki, Lagos, Nigeria. The word works.
David said some powerful things about resurrection. Acts of Apostles chapter number 2 verse number 23. And him being delivered by the determined purpose and the foreknowledge of God. Look at your neighbor. Say there are two important things about resurrection. Number one, determined purpose. Number two, foreknowledge. Look at me. Whether you like it or not, there are certain things about your life that God has determined. And you see, the way to mess things up is that if there's a determined purpose of God about your life and you are running contrary to it, things are going to scatter. So it wasn't, and that's why one of the things we have to learn from Jesus about resurrection was that he accepted the determined purpose of God for his life. In the old King James Version, he calls it the determinate counsel of God. Look at that. I think I like it in that old King James Version better than the new. The new said the determined purpose, but the old says the determinate counsel. See, let's appreciate the fact that in God some things are set. And if any aspect of your life, any, is determined by God, please submit unto God at that level. Don't. You see, the wisdom we're learning from Christ was that when Christ found out that it was the determined purpose of God for him to die the death of the cross, he humbled himself, he accepted it. Because at times, the determined purpose of God can be humbling. It might not be what you want. You think Christ really wants to die? Look, let me take you up there and nail you so that you understand what it means. But you see, it's never to punish you. Every time you accept a determined purpose of God for your life, it's because God has a higher purpose. There's something God wants to do with you, that determined purpose is the gateway. Because Christ crucified did not mean that was the end of the life of Christ. That gave Christ an avenue to step into another life. And it can be many things. It can be the determined purpose of God for your life to be a giver. It can be the determined purpose of God for your life to just be one that is totally sold out to the work of God. But you see, Christ knew that this is determined. I can't change it. And he said, and according to the foreknowledge of God. Do you see that? That means, look at it, another very powerful attribute when I'm talking about resurrection, is that nothing is happening that God will say, oh, how did that happen? There's a mystery in God that is called what? The foreknowledge of God. That means ever before anything breaks or anything happens, anywhere, you see, God knows. Foreknowledge. And that is why you need to submit to the righteousness of God. Because, for example, there's nobody here. It's even too late to say tomorrow. Is there anyone here that knows what's going to happen by 6 p.m.? Do you? But there's something about God, foreknowledge. So if God says, for example now, let's say God tells Sister Amaka and says, Sister Amaka, you know what? After service, stay here till 7 p.m. You know, I know someone like Sister Amaka will obey. But you see, the truth about the matter is this, there's something that's called foreknowledge. There's something about tomorrow. There's something about the next 2 years you don't know. But because God has foreknowledge, that means whatever is going to happen to us is going to be in the future. But to God is a past. Do you understand? That is the way God is. Look, everything about your life to you now is like in the future. But everything about your life, the way God sees it, it has played out already. God sees the end from the beginning. So God knows what is going to happen to you when you are 50. He's seen it all. It's you that you now say, I'm 40, and I'm going to be 50, and I'm going to be 60. But for God, God sees everything. He has foreknowledge. And that's why you can imagine how God feels when he's trying to guide us through his determined purpose and his foreknowledge, and people don't respond to those things. So he says, sit there. Only for her to just realize that by 6 p.m. something had happened that God just shielded her from by just saying, sit there. Believe me, those two factors are at work 100% of the time for a man of faith. And every time God is asking you to take a step of faith, just remember determined purpose and foreknowledge. Those two things will even make us to honor God the more. To know that, wow, nothing is happening here. God is in charge of history. So by wicked hand, you have crucified and slain. Now, let's move on. Whom God raised up, having loosed the pains of death, because it was not possible that he should be held by it. The second factor in resurrection is that there is what is called the pains of death. Look, it's not death that is really frustrating for people. It is the pains of death. You want to obtain a better resurrection, lose the pains of death. Somebody say, lose it. What did God do for Christ? He said, having lose the pains of death. Like I used the example at the beginning, you are believing God for money to pay your rent. 6 months down the line, you are a man of faith. Before you know, you are confessing, you are believing. Now it's 6 days to, your faith will start coming down. Believe me, 2 days to, oh, the guy's like, oh, I don't think God wants to give me this money. So the next thing start doing, he picks his phone and is calling people, please support me, please help me. And the day the landlord knocks on the door and there's no money to pay. That's what is called the pains of death. You know why it's painful? You actually waited. You confessed. And once the enemy can put the pains of death. So that pains of death is a regret that the enemy now puts in your heart to say, after all, this your faith is not working. You see, lose it. Don't let it grip you. Because once it grips you, believe me, it is at that point God is about to do something. But you see, the enemy has just putting that pains of death on people. So it now becomes painful, and you are like, I should have, maybe he could have, he did not, and it's now all pains. And the next time you want to walk by faith, you are very careful. You are like, I don't think this faith thing. You see, death has given you a dangerous bite. The Bible says for Jesus, it was not possible that death should hold him. Don't let death hold you. That was why the first man of faith, Abel, was the first person to mess death up. Even in death, he's still speaking. How I wish, as the landlord is knocking, you are still confessing. You see, the mystery of faith is that in death, you must still be speaking. Because death wants to shut up your mouth. So Abel was the first man of faith that even though he died, you see, the faith walk, there's no promise anywhere that death will not happen some of the time. You see, at times the deadline will come because it's a dead end. But you see what a man of faith does. So for Mary and Martha, They were confessing that Lazarus will live and that Jesus will do something until Lazarus died. The day Lazarus died, they changed their confession. That means death harassed them. Death messed them up because 4 days ago they had faith. And they sustained the momentum of that faith until Lazarus died. So that is what happens to people. This is the pain of death, in that you held on in faith. But eventually Lazarus died. But also understand that if Lazarus died, Jesus already said there's what is called determined purpose and foreknowledge. This sickness is not unto death. But if you are reading it in English, what you are reading into it is that this guy will not die. Was that what Jesus said? No. Jesus said this sickness, see, this is death. This is the sickness. Death is this pulpit. Resurrection is that next pillar. So Jesus said this sickness is not until death. That Jesus is saying this sickness is going to go beyond death. Because it's not unto death. That means the final bus stop is not death. Death is just one of the bus stops. But this sickness is going somewhere. And Jesus said where it's going is to the glory of God. So whenever there is death, expect the glory of God. But if you don't hold on, and that's why Jesus had to quickly come, so that they will not sabotage the glory of God. And when Jesus now came, he now looked at them and said, Martha, Mary, 4 days ago, you guys, what were you saying? He said, if you had come 4 days ago, my brother would not have died. Jesus said, I am the resurrection and the life. That means Jesus said, resurrection is not an event, it's a person. I am the resurrection. That means I can never be late. Whenever I come is when I come. And whenever I come, it does not matter whether it is stinking. You see, because some people have found themselves beyond death in a stinking situation. It's not a question of that. The landlord is not even threatening to throw out your things. So he's stinking. But Jesus said, whenever I come, I am resurrection. And I hear this in my spirit. And it's a word for somebody. He said, I love you so much that I'll come late for you. Did you hear that? You got a neighbor say he loves you so much. That is why he's late. So what kind of love is that? Because people want on-time performances. But at times the Lord says, yeah, I delayed a bit just to make you to exercise your faith muscle and to know that. So when he came, he said, roll away the stone. He said, it's already stinking. So even the death of Lazarus was according to the determined purpose of God. That was how God. So what Mary and Martha, Jesus told the disciples already, said, the sickness is not unto death, but that the glory of God should be revealed. Foreknowledge. See, trust God that there is a foreknowledge of God. If God did not give you the money, if God did not give you the breakthrough, can you still hold on even in the face of death? Because the reason why Jesus died was to show us that death does not have the final say. To show us that there is a possibility beyond death. But for many people, the end of their faith is death. So Abel said, no, in death we will speak. And you know what Abel successfully did was to weaken the hold of death. So eventually Enoch came. And they started looking for him everywhere. And you know what? They could not find Enoch. But Bible said for Enoch, before he was taken, he had this testimony that he pleased God. Have you considered that story again? Before he was taken. Not when he was taken. Think about it. Before he was taken. Brother Richard, are you seeing that story? Before he was taken. That means every day, if you do a cross-section of the life of Enoch, every day he had a testimony that he pleased God. And he was not taken. That means he had enough testimony to be taken, but he was not taken. Because for Enoch, let's learn. You see, the testimony of Enoch was not shared after he was taken. Before he was taken, he had the testimony. So before the rent is due, you already have the testimony that you have paid your rent. Before. See, know that word before. Most people want to share the testimony after. And that is why death has a way of harassing them. Because if you want to share the testimony after, you give death latitude to operate. But ever before anything should go wrong, you already have the testimony. And because we overcome by the word of our testimonies. So he held on. So look at Enoch. He will be going out and he will tell everybody, God is going to take me. Death cannot harass me. He will go to work, come back, and I'm sure people in the environment will say, this man of faith, before he was taken, he had the testimony. That means every day he was sharing the testimony. You know what? I'm going to be taken. So they will expect him not to come back. He will come back again. He will sleep, eat normally. He will start the day again. And he had the testimony. Just like saying I'm a billionaire. And people are looking at you and say, this guy is not serious. Look at him, nothing has changed. Until one day, Enoch was not, because God took him. But before he was taken, know that word, before, he had the testimony that pleased God. Now let's take that back to Hebrews 11. Say, without faith it's impossible to please God. So that means he had a testimony as a man of faith. He had a testimony of faith. It was a faith testimony. That testimony could not be substantiated by the environment. Because there was a guy testifying that had been taken, and every day he was still alive until one day his confession caught up with the operations of God. And that's why the story of Easter is to eliminate the possibility of death inflicting pains on you. And that's why Jesus said, I have conquered hell and death. And this is the season. This is what we are commemorating today. The fact that, look, death is there. We're not saying death is not there. But the truth about the matter is that death does not have a say in our affairs again. Somebody say amen. Amen. Look at your neighbor. Say, death can no longer harass you. That's all. So ask your neighbor, say, what is your testimony now before? Let's begin to close because of time. Now look at what David said about resurrection. That's where I want to get into. Then we'll come on Thursday. For David says concerning him, you see, the foresight of David is always very powerful. When you are in your moment of death, say what David said. What did David say? I foresaw the Lord always before my face. I wish people say that. When the rent is due and there's no money, what do you see? David said, in moments like this, I foresaw the Lord always before my face. But what do people see? Is the landlord. So some people fear the landlord more than the Lord. Do you see the Lord? For he's at my right hand, that I may not be shaken. See, moments like that wants to shake you. But once you know, I am not seeing the face of anybody, I'm seeing the face of Jesus Christ. Because once you see his face, that same glory in the face of Jesus Christ will begin to radiate on your face. Move on. David said, that I may not be shaken. Therefore, in the midst of this bad situation, my heart rejoiced. My tongue was glad. My flesh shall rest in hope. Really, what do you do? The man is threatening fire and brimstone. I will throw. I don't know. Maybe I'm saying this for somebody. I'm going to throw away. And people are like, yeah, you are fearing a mortal like you. That guy talking might not live to see tomorrow. He's like, landlord is coming, you know. But David said, look, there's no point. Landlord can come. That's death. But I foresee the Lord always before my face. He's at my right hand. My heart rejoiced. My tongue was glad. My flesh will rest in hope. Why? Verse 27 as we close. For you will not leave my soul in hell, nor will you allow your Holy One to see corruption. Do you believe that?
Yes, sir.
Do you know what David was saying here was messianic? Not the meaning of when he says messianic. This was the mindset Christ took to the grave. That, Lord, it doesn't matter. I will go to hell, but you will not leave my soul in hell. So if God will not leave your soul in hell, then don't leave your soul in hell. Don't allow the hell of the situation to capture your soul. That you are just thinking of is evil. And you can't pray, and you can't live your life, and everything about you sit down, and you're like, you see some people breathing. It's rent. Some people is debt. And you say, look, I've been there. It will amaze many of you the kind of debt we encountered in business, and yet you don't see me ruffled. Because look, there's a very powerful principle in God, and that's the principle of being calm. Exactly what you want to see in my midst. Look, Laban wanted to go and meet Jacob. He was going. I'll deal with this guy. God showed up. God said, "Come here. Don't say anything good or bad to Jacob. God wants him." How about that same man going to sleep and God says, "You know what? The heart is the Lord and the fullness thereof. Don't bother that guy again about rent." But here you are, you have died many times. Death is harassing you, is over harassing you because of mere mortal like you. Because your flesh is not resting in hope. He said, "You will not leave my soul in hell." And look, whenever you are believing God for something and it's not forthcoming, trust God that you will not see corruption. He won't allow. That means even if the landlord comes to knock the door, that's not corruption. You see, in your local, look, I say this. The greatest threat to the Christian faith, Amaga, is culture. This is about culture. How many of you know culture is stronger than religion? Oh, you don't know. Jesus talked to the Pharisees. The Pharisees were the most religious sect of the Jewish community back in the day. But Jesus said to them, "You have made the word of God of no effect by your culture, by your tradition." So tradition and culture, they are so powerful that they can render the word of God inoperative. Did it not happen to Israel too? Israel from Egypt and for 40 years in the wilderness encountered God continually. Only for them to get to the promised land, a counter culture, the culture of the Canaanite, made Israel to turn their back to God. And God had to warn them. He said, "This nation you are going to, they will corrupt you." That means God himself had to acknowledge the fact that the culture out there, if you don't make this Christian faith a counter culture, will change, and in no time they have to go into exile. This didn't influence them so much. They started worshiping their God, and they left their own God to show that culture is a very powerful thing. But you see, the beautiful thing is that the faith message is supposed to be another culture. Supposed to be a counter culture. You see, in a local palace, when your landlord comes, you lock bang on your door, you are a failure. But in the faith culture, you have not seen corruption. So don't make it look and say, "Yeah, what will people say?" When you are walking by faith, you don't care what people are saying. What you want is a testimony that you please God. Let him knock. You see, don't begin to interpret it culturally and to say, "Oh my God, if this should happen, that means I'm finished. If this should happen, that means I'm failure." You are being cultural. You are not a faith person. You see, in faith, interpretation is a function of revelation. So when a man comes to knock, just say he will not allow his only one to see corruption. So this is not corruption. Don't say "mogbe moku." I mean, like people say "mogbe." I mean, that means what is that in English? When I say "mogbe," that means I'm I'm what? No. Mogbe is it's like I'm cursed. Mogbe, I say I've perished. I'm done for. Because of what? Somebody came to knock and to make some noise. And like neighbors are watching. Neighbors are watching. You see, you are a cultural person. How I wish you can, at the same way, also develop a culture of faith. Because until faith becomes a culture, it's powerless. It's powerless. It must become a counter-interpret things. It's so different. Move on. The last part of that, he will not allow his only one to see corruption. Are you his only one? Is God faithful? He will not allow his only one to see corruption. You have made me to know the ways of life. You will make me full of joy in your presence. The next verse. Men and brethren, say, let me freely speak of your project. David is both dead and his grave is with us to this day. But look at the lessons David taught us. So this was the mindset of Christ when he was going to the grave, that he's not going to be left to see corruption. And that's why I thought they God had to raise him before he saw corruption. Because he knew in his presence there's fullness of joy. And at his right time, there are pleasures forevermore. And that is why you boast in infirmities. It is when it's tough. That is when you are enjoying the pleasure of the presence of God the more. This is the lesson of Easter. Can we rise up tonight, this morning? Acts 13. Just open to 13 as we pray this morning. Verse 34 and 35. Everyone, let's read it. 1, 2, go. And that he raised him from the dead, no more to return. Look at your neighbor. Say, no more to return to corruption. Say, that is you. 1, 2, go again. Let's read it. And that he raised him from the dead, no more to return to corruption. He has spoken thus. I will give you the sure mercies of David. Did you see that?
Yes, sir.
Look at your neighbor. Say, it is sure. It's called sure mercies. That means, Brother Lawrence, it does not matter how tough. You see, one thing God is assuring you this morning is his mercy. Verse 35, everyone go. You will not allow your only one to see corruption. Just like Enoch did not see death. But what happened before he was taken? So when he says you are not going to see corruption, before the rent is due or the bills are due, have a testimony that you please God. That's how to escape it. Sure mercies of David. Like your Obama will say, it was an old sure. Look at our neighbors. How do we say so? It's sure. Look at your neighbor. Say that you're not going to see corruption. Oh, sure, but like they say, sure banker. Sure mercies of David. How many of you know David experienced mercy? God himself said it. He said, I didn't give my mercy unto Saul. He said, but I gave mercy unto David. Sure mercy. He would do some things like this. It will look as if, look, David, Saul did not kill anybody. The only person Saul wanted to kill was David and the priest of Nob that he killed. David saw a woman bathing, took her in, and organized the first parcel bomb. When he refused to go home, David said, come here. He wrote his death warrant and put it in his hand, organized his death. But even at that, God still had mercy on David. Because that mercy, God already said, I'm not going to take it away from you. He's sure. That does not mean you should misbehave. But what we're saying is that Guys, as we go commemorating the greatest event of Christianity, which is the resurrection of the Lord Jesus Christ, just understand one of the co-factors of resurrection is that God has had mercy on you. The sure mercies of David. Can we just begin to pray?